Hello, this is Pixie doing another video. I've changed the angle of it a little bit, so it's a little bit in front of me, but then I can see right around it, so it's not a big issue. Changing the angle of the camera to fit the need of the audience. There we go. So I was just quite interested in, I'm also reminded things like with the current war in Israel and war in Palestine. There's ownership things, isn't it? Like the war of Israel's war or Palestine's war. I'd say it's a Canaanites' war. You bullied the Canaanites out of the country, and it's what they actually said about. I think it's in the Bible. That comes from a Judo-Christian background, so it's still got the Jewish thing. But it basically says bash and kill Canaanites, basically. So there we go. Historically, there's been this, but what's actually going on in the bigger picture is it's globalism. It's global government and globalism. If you're not in the equation, you can get removed, and that will be by isolating you and turning you to a minority. And that's what's happening. I mean, if you look at how many people would, I guess the only thing about with Jewish people is that it's a big umbrella. You know, you could say all Christians are kind of got some Jewish stuff going on there as well, because just the way it was set up with the religion. There's like Ashkenazi Jews and all sorts of things. And my heritage has probably got some Jewish bloodlines through a Prussian, maybe? Prussian and Germanic background. So it goes, and then into France, French. So might even be related to King Louis. So. But I was definitely kicked out of France, our family at one point. But what happens is like say, marginalising and then pushing out groups. And it's the same what happened with the Native Americans, and I guess they would be terrorists because they're resisting change. Anything that's causing a resistance to change, they have to be alienated, and it's an opportunity to increase that. So when conflict arises, it's an opportunity. It's a clever thing that's been played out. But the giveaway is it repeats through history. And it's the same with Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, or you might say Northern Ireland part of the UK, it might not. I mean, there's all sorts of mixed tensions there. But I mean, potentially that was something we like with the IRA. There was funding that was coming via America. Like McDonald's was funding the IRA, and it was playing like, we didn't realise they were like that. I'd have to look into the history of what was going on there. But basically, an outside influence had been funding a conflict, and that also happened with the Nazis. I mean, they were very poor, Germany, so to put a war machine together, you need all the resources. So yeah, they were pillaging and taking stuff as they went. And then some of this stuff was going to Switzerland, so it's gold-neutral countries. But there was originally war loans that were taken out, war bonds and things. I mean, that's just scary. You might be able to buy some war bond and you get your return on it. So that's what kind of the United States are pushing. And I guess with the weakening of the petrodollar, because people are still buying things in dollars and exchanging for petrol, but we're now moving into an era where people want to bring out electric type cars. There'll always be petroleum used in sort of plastics and stuff like that. But there's this desire to try to be greener, and it gets in the way. Not unless you put taxes in place that actually, people would say loss of earnings. These companies have probably claimed something. So VP have probably claims that they've lost earnings due to these green bills or whatever they put, these green acts they put in place. But they all just make money. It just makes the average person's life harder. and they just have to work. And the thing is, with money, it doesn't have really any particular value. If they've got to print more out, they just want it to create more debt to go back in. But the debt cycle never ends, and so it needs to consume the whole world, because there's a point, if it doesn't, you do the negative energy. You basically, this is where an empire crumbles, because it's actually existed in promises. You have to do stuff to. It has to bend over backwards to get things done, and so it has to sell what it can to survive. And that's pretty much the people, their ideals, telling them what to think, what to do. And mostly politicians don't care, because it's just going to, as long as it gets them through their lifetime or gets them through their office or whatever period of time, they make a lot of money, and then they could retire, and then they go off to some other country or wherever they want to go. They create a little fiefdom where they can just, a little haven they can hide, where they have big walls around it and stuff like that. So it's just globalism. And like I say, with the other thing as well with conflict. So let's say the IRA and the stuff, and that was probably also the opportunity to encourage that kind of conflict from an outside force like the US, because they're just funding people that can get certain things done. There's things like. They always said there was stuff with soldiers and stuff that were targeted by, and maybe some corruption in the British military and stuff like that. That was stuff I heard, and I take it with a pinch of salt. But it could easily be another country like US wanting to get rid of certain people that maybe they would have negative views about things. Because there is like US bases. There's like something in Wales I was looking at. Yeah, I think there is something they use over here. Depends how powerful the crown is when it comes to how much influence it has over the world. It might have a massive reach, and it just has countries operate in a particular way. I could go up his arse. Bit of a pain though, isn't it? Go shove myself here, otherwise I won't get anywhere. Yeah. So basically, I was coming back to the point is that the conflict could be restoked. There is actually like the new IRA. So all they got to do is have people that are, we can get you a shipment of weapons, we can get your name in lights, and we'll give you an exit plan as well. We'll do a Bin Laden with you. Nobody actually finds the body, and he's living in Pakistan or somewhere. And the squad comes in and he's blown to pieces. So there's never anything identified. So he might have just been the boogeyman. Just made up some names. I mean, there was stuff in this with stuff that was like Barack Obama or something. There was something. Some organisation, remember being in Africa, that were on like the splinter of ISIS or something stupid. And even something in the Philippines, just ridiculous. But the little, I guess, what do they call them? The little cells, they consider them terrorist cells. But they're just like radical people that have got strange views and want to take back things or destroy things. Megalomaniacs, basically, or something. And they just basically are on the list. So if there's an opportunity to say create some friction because maybe a trade agreement's going to occur in a certain country, it's kind of also like if we look at the Arab states, I guess, when they was looking to do some sort of peace agreement with Israel, and they'll say, "Oh, it's Iran that wants it not to be peaceful." Are we sure of that? It's a lot of it is smoke and mirrors, isn't it? So I can tell you what I want you to do and do the complete opposite. And you can only really see your enemy once they attack you sometimes. If it seems too nice, their relationship, and then suddenly, or either that, they're just splintered within the organisation. So somebody thinks, oh yeah, we can't fight forever. And they think, well, let's let them believe that we are going to be all peaceful, and let's just kick up a storm and then benefit from the chaos. So that could also be going on. And yeah, like, you don't want to, I mean, it's just kind of this roadmap of fragmenting countries up. So corporations are basically running the show. I mean, I've always said that potentially the US could be potentially just a big corporation. It's split the group from the crown. It may have rejected its ruler, but they may have reinstated some sort of control. It's a bit like when I think there was, is it France? The king was removed, and then, or is it, no, actually probably, and then they reinstate another king back. So they wanted it there, but they don't want them to influence government, but they want them as a kind of what am I trying to think of? Some sort of state piece or representation, because then they can work within the shadows by having a public face. They need a mask, basically. So we're looking at the globalism, and the problem is with a globalist ideology, it doesn't change. It's like Nazism. It's like a fusion of all sorts of things. So it looks very passive and fluffy on the outside, but slowly you're losing more control. And the same was happening with people going about the Brexit, what that meant. But look how annoyed the media was that this Brexit took place, because they didn't want it to happen. And why is that? Because they're biased. And why is that? Because they're getting funded and financed in a particular way. I mean, if you look at, say, how many, they're not exactly a diversity. They might say they are, and that's another smoke and mirrors thing. They might project some woke people, and it makes people like, oh, I don't want to be like that. Oh, Christ. And person's got green hair and they're screaming their head off, or something like that. But just basically, when people are more fragmented, they're easily more controlled and manipulated. And then you just need figureheads within that organisations to influence them. Like Hamas, I don't know who the hell they are, really. I mean, I don't know too much, but I know that they're probably a byproduct of when relationships are quite poor and toxic. And the only problem is if you're lashing out and stepping away, you're letting other people take the brunt of it, and it's just children and stuff. And it's like, oh, we're looking for Hamas, so we're going to bomb some hospitals and bomb some other things. But it doesn't. See, everything they're saying is a lie. You just have to look at the facts. I mean, strip away what the words are. Just have to list the casualties, the targets, and then what intelligence? Probably none. I mean, if they didn't know this was going to happen in the first place, some counterattack, even though it's probably on the cards for years, it's because if it's on the cards, how can we benefit from that? If people don't matter, but land does, land and power, how can we benefit from that? Because we can always create more people, or we could just ask them to come over. That's what we've been doing for ages. Like, come over, take back your land. Doesn't matter if you settled in somewhere else and you're happy. We want you back in the firing line, I guess. Ooh. So yeah, I guess watch this space. Anyway, it's big sign off. Have a great one. Speak to you, mate.